Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. On today's show, I've got an awesome guest, my friend, Michael Staertow of the band The Guess Who. No, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. They got a brand new album out called Plain D'Amour. You need to check it out. We're going to talk about that album. We're going to talk about his work with Lou Gramm. Yeah, he played guitar for Lou Gramm. And he's a big Journey fan, so we got to talk about that. And we just talk about everything. A nice chat. I think you're going to enjoy it. So here we go. Here's Michael Staertow. I've been friends with you for a little bit on Facebook. You ever look at my posts and go, this guy's a weirdo?
No, I actually enjoy your posts.
Okay, I was going to say.
Come up all the time, but I think we have a lot in common too. That's kind of cool.
No, really. And we're going to talk about that if you don't mind. You know, I hope you got 6 hours straight. No, I'm kidding.
I'm here, but whatever you need, I'm here.
Oh, awesome. No, but we really do have a lot in common. And we're going to talk about that. Got so much to talk about. I got like a book full of notes because I don't want to leave anything out because I'm like, you know.
I didn't think that there was that much important things to know to talk about.
Well, you know what? I always pretend like there are, and I'm
okay. Good. You're good, man. You're good.
I'm gonna make it look like, you know,
okay,
you're just the best thing ever.
Thank you.
No, but honestly, that is honestly what I do. I mean, I that's what I love about stuff like this. I haven't been doing these Zooms. I usually do it by phone, and but I said, you know, it's better to see the person face to face. I said I should start doing these Zoom calls. But man, I'm looking. I talked to Joel Hoekstra. Have you ever worked with Joel Hoekstra before?
I've never worked with Joel, but there's a running gag going on at our expense that you never see Joel and I in the same room because we have a similar look and we're both guitar players. And I think one of these days that's going to come to roost.
It's the same guy. So we've already done this interview a couple of days ago. What a waste of time, man. I'm kidding. Hey, but
I have a good friend here in Nashville that interviewed me for his podcast, and he introduced me as being from TSO and Whitesnake, and it was rather humorous.
That's funny, man. But you know, it is true though, because when I think of both of you guys, like on the same kind of level, both just tremendous, you know, awesome guitar players, nice guys in that same mode. You know, probably most underrated, like I told him the other day, underrated guitar players. People really need to think about that the next time they see y'all play. They're like, these guys, like I told him, and I wasn't just trying to blow smoke or anything. I'm like, man, your name needs to be out there like, boom, this guy, whoa. Yeah. You know, instead of sometimes people miss out on that. They see all, you know, the lights and the, you know, the maybe the lead singer or they get caught up in the moment of the songs, but sometimes, man, you gotta say that guy right there, man, that dude can play.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I think Joel is an amazing player. I really admire his talent and ability and technique is fantastic. I mean, he's a real deal, and you know, I can't say enough great about him. He's awesome. I love Joel.
Yeah, man, that's awesome stuff, man. But yeah, but the Zoom calls, I said, you know, the camera's supposed to give you like 10 pounds. I think when I was talking to Joel, man, like a frog or something. I'm like, geez, that's probably why I don't do the Zoom call. I'm like, the Zoom call adds 20 pounds, you know. And I said, in your voice though, I said, you know, I'm from Alabama. You don't think you have this thick accent. You get on a Zoom call, you're like, woo, hey, how you doing?
How y'all doing? Bless your heart.
Get some vittles. And we really don't talk like that, believe it or not.
No, it's true.
It's true. But you're from New York, right? Originally. Yeah, so do you have that? Where's your strong New York accent?
Well, I'm from upstate New York, Western New York, and Rochester.
So it's not not the
and I think people pronounce that city different than they ridicule me, Rochester. That's my Rochester accent coming out. But yeah, I'm from Rochester, New York, and born and raised, and yeah, that's that.
Same spot as Lou, right?
In fact, the irony of that is that we went to the same high school together. We lived in the same town, not at the same time because he's older than me, but right. We did go to the same high school. We ran the same streets, and we lived in the same suburb, little town of Gates, New York. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so that was just the sign back then that you were destined to play for the guys, because which that means I'm going to be playing guitar for William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys, because he's from right here in Bruno, Alabama.
But
So
he's actually one of my neighbors. He lives right up the street here.
is that right? Go tell him I want to play.
Yeah, I
Because if
will.
it works for you, it works for me. I'm just
Right
saying.
on, right on.
He'll laugh. He'll laugh at that. But yeah, that's really cool though. We're going to talk about that too, because I mean,
Cool.
you know, and let me just say this, you know, if you ever feel down and out, you're having a hard day, always remember you played for Lou Gramm.
Yeah.
You're on the stage with Lou Gramm. You know, and I know we talk about Journey, you know, and Lou Gramm was up there with Steve Perry in my book. I mean, just
absolutely.
Whoa. And like I said, we'll talk about that. But man, just unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to start off with a few questions, some random questions. Okay, are you ready for this?
Yep.
Okay, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Oh wow. You know, both for different reasons. David Lee Roth because he's the original, the OG. Sammy Hagar because you know he lived in Rochester for a little while too, and you know he's a kind of a hometown guy and a force all to his own. You know, he's Cabo Wabo Tequila, you name it, man. The Red Rocker, man. So both.
Good answer. That's a safe answer in case you know they watch and they're like, "Hey, that."
I mean, but there were two different eras of the band. I mean, David Lee VLR for the introduction to that amazing catalog, but Sammy took it to another level, and not necessarily better or worse, but I mean, it was a different band. It was just some arguably some people could say it was more commercial success, but you know, I love them both. You know,
I do. I mean, I'm leaning towards Sammy, but I mean, I think that's just because you know, when I started listening to Van Halen, that Sammy was there, you know, so it was kind of like, I started listening to Van Halen right about the 1984 with the Jump, you know, right when he was leaving. I'm like, these guys rock, you know, so it was kind of like I came in and it was like Sammy.
Sure.
So, where's one place you've never been that you'd like to go?
Australia.
Australia. Yeah. Crikey. Good day, mate. Hey, that's a good accent. It's a fake.
Pretty
down
good.
under. I live down under you, mate. Okay, that was terrible. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Good.
Crikey. There's some stuckies over there. I'm like, I'm British. I'm British now. It's like Paul McCartney. Okay. Beach or the mountains? Now you're close to the mountains, which I love up there in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
So would you prefer the beach or mountains if you wanted to get away for a while?
Oh man, probably the beach for like a day or two, and then to the mountains after, because there's things I like about them both. So another both answer.
Hey, it works for me. I like them both too. What's something that you can't go a day without?
Coffee.
Coffee. Gotta have the coffee.
You gotta have my coffee.
I don't know. You know, I like coffee, but if I drink too much, I'd be bounced off of a wall because I got like, you know, ADHD and stuff like that. I would be.
I could drink a cup of coffee and go to bed, but I just love.
Really?
I just love coffee. Yeah,
it's good stuff. I will say. Which I have the sweet tea right here.
You know what? I'm enjoying a tea myself here, buddy.
Cheers to you.
And I had a function bar in there.
So it's all good.
Little protein.
Okay, now this is something I've been thinking about. Now, what was your first guitar that you ever had when you were younger?
Well, the first guitar I ever got was a nylon string classical, really, really inexpensive one that I got for a Christmas present after starting to play guitar when I was about, I don't know, how old are you when you're in 8th grade? You know, maybe like what, 13, 14, maybe?
Yeah.
I received, and it was the neck was wide, the strings were high, it was tough to play, but I hung in there.
You know, which I play guitar, you know, that's my always give a plug just in case, you know, you might need me one day.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just, no, I'm kidding. Or am I kidding? No, but really, I read where Eric Clapton, though, he, his fingers, you know, got so fast because he used to play on this cheap guitar when he was growing up, and the strings were like, the action was that high.
Oh, absolutely.
And the same here, and it probably was for you too. When you're used to this crappy guitar, you appreciate it as a kid. You're like, I have a guitar. Right. You know, don't matter if it was from Sears or whatever, but it helps you with your playing, because when you get a nicer guitar, it's like, whoa,
Yeah,
I can play
absolutely.
a lot better.
Well, I was just so happy to get a guitar because I fell in love with the instrument, and I took it everywhere I went. I mean, I never put it down. I mean, it's kind of still the way it is now. I mean, I play every day.
Yeah,
But you're right though, playing on a guitar that's a little bit tougher to play makes it a whole hell of a lot easier to play on one that plays well.
yeah, it sure does. It's a world of difference. What do you play? Les Pauls? Is that
Yeah,
what you play?
I'm primarily a Gibson Les Paul player. Yeah.
And those are awesome guitars.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and especially I think for rhythm, I think I'm thinking of the rhythm sounds when I play them. But I like the sounds of those things.
Sure, sure. You
Uh,
can't beat it. It's a very robust, thick, full sound. It's
yeah, it's solid for sure. Yeah. Um, okay, so let's get into the main part of this conversation. Now, you joined the Guess Who. What year was that you started
20,
with them?
21, like in May, June-ish. Actually, the conversation started in around May. I received a call from Rudy Zarzo, who was playing in the band at the time. They were looking for somebody, and I ended up playing my first show in June of 21 in St. Cloud, Minnesota, was my first show.
Awesome. It hadn't been too long, which I guess, but really, when you think about it, it has been a long time. I mean, time has been flying, though, it seems like. But yeah, I remember, when people think of the Guess Who, a lot of times they'll think of the old days. If they don't really keep up with the band, they're like, you don't really know who's in the band. And I remember seeing Rudy in the band. I'm like, that's really cool. Rudy Sarzo is in
Yeah.
the Guess Who. And next thing I know, you joined the band. I was like, whoa. And it was really awesome uh to have y'all in there, and to bring like a fresh sound to this band. And
Absolutely.
but the new album, am I saying that right? Plain d'Amour, right? Plain.
Plein de
And
mots.
gotta say it with a
You
French accent.
you have to smile. You say plan.
Plain.
Because if you say
The
plan,
plain, boss. The
yeah,
plain. No, that's the wrong accent. Sorry.
if you say plan, that means map, and it's plein d'amour, plein
Plain.
d'amour, and that means full of love.
Full of love. That's right. I googled that, by the way. Although I'm not fluent in French. Hey, but my great, let's see how it is. My great great grandmother was from France. She couldn't speak English, so that's where I'm from.
There you go. So it's
Partly.
perfect for you.
So I should know. I should have known that word. Those words. So why the Full of Love? Why was this album supposed to be the album Full of Love?
Well, it's kind of a concept album, and the lyrical content and the vibe of it is just kind of in the intent is what we came from coming out of the pandemic and being so divided. We really felt, as we reflected on that time, that the world needed more love and more cohesiveness, and we felt like that was our mission to try to convey that in the ideas that were floating around. And Derek Sharp, the lead singer of the Guess Who from I believe 2007 or 2008, and currently, it was basically his concept, and he presented these ideas to us, and we were all on the same page. We really felt. I know I personally felt that the songs were fantastic. I was excited and enthusiastic about it, and the message was perfect. I mean, if you think about it, without being political, which is tough to do these days, which is probably the biggest culprit of the division that we're living in. Music was the thing we lacked the most during the pandemic and the lockdown. So you're at a concert and you're enjoying music. You're not looking at the person standing next to you as being a person of color or a person of religion or have differing opinion. You guys are all rocking out and enjoying.
Exactly.
It's a cohesive consciousness of love and appreciation for music, and all that brings that. So, we really felt that Plein d'Amour, Full of Love, is really something that we really want to deliver and enhance and try to, encourage people to be participating more of in these days that we're living in. So it was perfect. It was a perfect name. All the material lent to that. I'm sure you've listened to the record, and
Yes.
you can tell it's all an uplifting, positive reflection of where we may have been and where we need to go more.
Well, man, it's a great message, and honestly, that's what I try to project, when I'm talking about a band or letting people know about it. And it ain't just about the band or the music, but when you have a message like that, people need to hear that, man. That it's a good. It just so happens though that the album is just awesome, and great guitar playing all the way through, and everything fits. Like it was like this is made just for this time, and it was just want to say that, man, not just lying and saying something you want to hear. I was like, whoa.
I appreciate that.
And but released a few singles. What, The King, and I'm listening to these songs now. It sounds like Queen.
Yeah.
There's some Foreigner in there. I mean, and I guess that's obviously because you played with Lou Gramm. Did you find that too? You got those little chunky little rhythms and just, I don't know, there's something about it, man.
You're not the first person to have said that. I don't think that was deliberate or intentional. But there's been a lot of reference to that since the album's come out. But what I can say is that it's a culmination of all of our influences and all of our the bands we've enjoyed growing up. And our goal in making this record, when we entered the studio, we had vinyl in mind. We were thinking about recording for vinyl. So we recorded live off the floor. All the basic tracks were done together. And, there's only 8 songs on the record, again, throwing back to a time when vinyl was popular. And we really wanted to make a great sounding record that represented and reflected on our influences and the things we grew up on and all the really, really, really good qualities of the music that we remember and we were used to. Not to say that music coming out today isn't as good. It's just that, like Derek says at our live shows, we really grew up in the best time for rock and roll and for music. I mean, we win. Yes.
Yes. Winner. Hey, but the truth is that, I mean, whether people agree with you or not, that is, I mean, if you look at the music from the 70s or late 60s, 70s, 80s, just kind of throw them in together. But right there in the core of the 70s and 80s, it's just that strong rock and roll sound. And this album, it sounds like it was recorded in 1975. I mean, if you play it and you're like, if somebody didn't know, they would swear that it was an older album. They're like, who are these guys? But that is something to think about now. With your sound, I mean, a lot of people, if some people are saying, I want to hear the Guess Who, they're going to think of the old Guess Who.
Right.
But this doesn't sound like the old Guess Who, right? So, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously the Guess Who are an iconic band, and there's a lot of people that are very, very attached to to past lineups, the original lineup. And I understand that. I mean, we touched upon earlier when we were talking about Steve Perry. I mean, I love Steve Perry's journey. I mean, Robert Fleischman did a stint in the beginning and very brief. And then, Steve Perry came in and very much solidified it. Steve left, and then you had Steve Augeri, fantastic singer, did a great job. I feel like maybe he didn't get a fair shake because people were so attached to the Steve Perry era. And then, fast forward to now, you have Arnel Pineda, who is amazing. He does an amazing job. But look, here's the problem that happens. Okay, you have 2 choices. That version doesn't exist anymore. That version isn't recording anymore. So you could have no Guess Who, or you can have a Guess Who of today. Exactly. We've decided to continue the legacy and keep moving forward and present a new body of recorded work that we feel is, I mean, it's, what is it, subjective to say it's better or worse? I'm not saying it's better or worse, but we feel that we're doing the legacy and the reputation justice. Now, somebody else may have a differing opinion, and they're entitled to that opinion. But this is where we're at, and this is where we're going, and this is the Guess Who in 2023.
and take it or leave it. And I've got the Journey and the Steve Perry channel, and a lot of people are the same way, of course, and they go, no Steve Perry, no Journey. Now
Yeah.
check this out. I used to be that guy whenever I think it was in '98
Sure.
when when Steve left, and I heard I was at the mall and I heard this song come over the speaker, and I said, "That's Journey, no doubt. I know that's Journey."
Yeah.
Oh, it was the song "Remember Me" with Steve Algeri.
Right.
But I couldn't really tell if it was, which Steve. At that point, I thought he might have still been with him, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "That's At first, I was like, "That's not Steve Perry," but then after a while, I was like, "Well, would you rather not have Journey at all? If
Yeah.
he's not playing the band, like you said, you want to continue the band." That's why I've appreciated every singer in the band, because they brought their own version of Journey. Of course, you want Steve Perry. I'll say the same thing about Lou Gramm. I talked to Jeff Pilson, and it was a big thing, magazines, about what he said about people saying it's a cover band. I mean, to a degree, I see people's point. Yeah, to a degree. But the thing is, you're carrying that legacy. And of course, you've got Gary Peterson in there.
Right.
They had Mick Jones in there. And I've heard Lou Gramm talk about it's kind of like a cover band. And I mean, because he is Foreigner in my book, just like Steve Perry is Journey. I get that.
Yeah.
I also love all the ones that have come after that. So it's kind of like a two-sided coin. But I do say, I mean, have people though said this is a cover band, and blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, there's always going to be people that are pundits. Look, we're doing really, really, really good now. We're selling out most shows, if not selling out close to it. People are coming. They're enjoying themselves. Nobody's complaining. When they buy a ticket, they come to our show. There's nobody complaining. So the way I look at it is pretty simple. You can have no enter whatever band, Foreigner, Journey, Guess Who, whatever, Styx. You can have no version of the band or a current version of the band that's carrying on the legacy is playing. And the other crazy part about it is that there's some people that don't even know the difference. But I mean, Lou is very identifiable for Foreigner. His voice is unmistakable. He, probably arguably one of the top 3 singers in all of classic rock. Steve Perry up there as well. But to get back to our new record, I mean, the influences 10cc, ELO, Queen, it just goes on and on to nod to all those bands from the past, and it's going to come out in our compositions because that's what we were influenced by. And if those bands still exist and they're outperforming today, great. I mean, the other aspect of it you have to face too is the aging. These guys are getting old. They're getting up there in age, and we're losing a lot of these icons. And are we replacing them at a rate that we're losing them? I don't think so. And plenty more, full of love. Go out and enjoy music. Just forget about the debate and just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Go to a show, go to a concert, and stop fighting.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's too much of that drama, too much of that.
Absolutely.
Like you said, appreciate the music. The music is great.
Thank you.
But yeah, you've got what is it? The headline song with the Crosby, Stills and Nash kind of a thing going on.
Got a vibe there.
Right. You've got, now I was listening to, there was one song, I'm trying to remember what song it was, but I don't know, it almost sounded like it had a little Queen vibe in there, but it had like a 80s rock kind of like a
Plenty more. The
like
title track.
Like Tesla.
Yeah, the title track is a little more of a rocker. We felt that as we were choosing music and rounding out the recording session, that we needed a rocker, we needed an anthem, and we needed something with a epic guitar solo, a la Freebird and Hotel California, and that's exactly what we were shooting for. And I think we accomplished it. We played that in our show. We're actually doing 4 songs off the record in our live show, and like I mentioned earlier, people are absolutely thrilled and enjoying it, and then it's being very well received. And we do play the hits as well, but that's the beauty of the Guess Who is it's ever evolving. It's a constantly evolving entity, and this is the fifth successful recording version of the band that continues.
That's awesome. And it's also good that you have a great sound and the record doesn't suck. I mean, you could be like, hey, we're the Guess Who, and you come out and it's no good. But hey, man, it's good stuff. So
we're very proud. We're very proud of the way it came out. We're very happy with it. We're thrilled that it's being received well. And I mean, what more could you ask for?
Hey, I'm with you on that. I'm like I said, I've enjoyed every song. All the songs on there are great, but there's one song, and I posted about it on social media, and that I just thought. Now I don't know. The record industry has changed. You know how there's no Casey Kasem. And now moving up 3 notches is that was my Casey, by the way. But thank you. But they don't really put music out there. They don't promote it like they used to. There's no posters everywhere. So you don't have that kind of a feel where people are like, the new Guess Who album is out. But I tell you what, the song People Around Me,
that's our new single.
That should be a hit. I mean, if I had my way, because I'm just saying, it doesn't have all the flashiness and all the strong, heavy guitar, it's just, I don't know. It's something you were talking about earlier about people getting along and coming together in peace, like living under the same sun, like it said, and just experiencing life and coming together, enjoying music. Don't matter what color you are, what religion, whatever.
Pretty simple.
You're just listening to some great music, and I think this song kind of just represents the album, right? In my opinion, and I just think it's a really good. It needs to be a hit song. If I'm just saying, I'm gonna do my best to try that to make it that. But I'm just saying, I want to tell people, hey, you need to check this song out because I really do like that song.
Well, thank you, and that is kind of the pinnacle of the message. And the sun shines on everybody equally. It doesn't matter. And think about it. When it's sunny out, you're in a good mood, and you feel good, and it really it's in the embodiment of our message on this record. So I really appreciate that, and we've been hearing that a lot about that song as well. It just got released as a single and a video last Friday, and it's another song that we're doing in our live show as well. And I'm really happy to hear that you really enjoy that. I appreciate that.
Yes. And the videos now, how did you come up with the videos and the kind of goofiness and fun? It's like you had a lot of fun. I wish I was there.
Yeah. Well, we're a pretty lighthearted bunch, and we have a really good sense of humor, and we try to let that, being in the studio and recording is one thing, and then making the video is another form of expression where we get to let our personalities show, and that's pretty much what naturally comes out. I mean, the directors we've worked with so far, we've done 4 videos. We've done a video for The King, Glenn the Moore, Headline, and now People Around Me is the latest. And every director has been very, very receptive to our ideas as we have been to theirs, and they're getting the concept. And I think we're just our personalities, and that's just the way to sum it up, is that's who we are. And when we get behind the camera, when we get together, we enjoy each other's company. We're goofy. We're lucky to be able to do what we do, and that's our way of giving back to people for letting us do it.
Well, I know they appreciate that, and I know that they enjoy the videos, and I know they look forward to seeing them. And well, tell me about. I know he's a character, Gary Peterson. I talked to him a few years ago. Man, we talked about everything, and he's a knowledgeable guy.
Yeah,
and funny, and just. What was your take on him when you first got in the band, and knowing that he's been there all these years? What does he bring to the band?
Well, I mean, to me, he's the foundation. That he's the bedrock of the band. I mean, he's been doing it since the beginning. He's seen every incarnation. When I first met Gary, he's wonderful. He was very accepting, and we became friends really quickly. And trying not to fanboy or geek out, but I mean, here's a guy who, started playing drums when he was 4 or 5 years old, and pretty much invented a style that was appreciated, and he's been cited as influences to so many players. Neil Peart being one of the most notable. I can't think of, being a big Rush fan, I can't think of something that's cooler than saying that Neil Peart idolized your playing. You influenced him. Gary is just he's like the chairman of the board. I mean, he's up on the riser, he sees everything, and he's the one that's guided this all these years, and he's the most enthusiastic about pushing the band in the direction that we're going in and releasing new music. I mean, because you think about it, 60 plus years, he very much has every reason to rest on the laurels of the catalog, because the catalog is so iconic in and of itself. But he keeps wanting to push. He keeps wanting to get better. I mean, he tells me he practices his drums every day. I mean, he just turned 78. And here's a guy who stays in the beginner's mind and continues to evolve and continues to push. I mean, in the studio, he was, very attentive and very, very intricate about what he was doing and very involved in everything. I mean, that's inspiring and admirable. I mean, I really have a lot of admiration just for the fact that he's such a student of his craft, and he's still learning and he's still evolving, and it just really inspires me to become the best version I can. I mean, I'm honored to be his friend. I'm honored to be a bandmate, and I feel very, very, very humbled that he's wants me to be in the band with him.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that is a humbling thing, like you said, because if a guy like that still learning, still practicing at 78 years old,
Yeah,
maybe he'll figure it out one day.
Yeah,
Right.
He invented stuff. I mean, when rock and roll was just starting, I mean, he was on the forefront of that stuff, and he was kind of, I don't know how many people I talk to that say, Gary is one of my favorite drummers growing up. I mean, he was such an influence, and if you listen to some of the old Guess Who records, I mean, he's a monster. Before we had Portnoy's and Neil Peart's and Virgil Donati's and monster players, Simon Phillips. I mean, Gary was there, double bassing and with chops, monster chops, and he's just, but the one thing that I can say about Gary that I admire the most, he's a musical drummer. He's a very much song oriented. He plays things musically. He's just not, he's not just hitting drums for the sake of chops. He's listening and he's playing musically. He's like almost like an orchestra conductor back there.
Exactly.
So
those are the best kinds of drummers and musicians, is the ones that do what the song needs instead of trying overplaying or trying too hard, just saying, looking at me. Yeah. Drummers sit way in the back.
Yeah.
They're not usually known, but like you said, I went back even after talking to him and just, listen to those songs. And you're, like you said, it's like, oh, he was doing some things that you hadn't heard anywhere else. And it was like these little builds on, on the drums and the background to the songs. I mean, the intros on a lot of songs people need to go back and listen to those albums. Absolutely. And listen to the albums now and appreciate everybody in the band. I mean, but especially Gary, because he's been doing it for all these years. Man, what a guy. He deserves some recognition, some awards,
And he's been overlooked a lot. And I know that I can say this, a drummer, an excellent drummer, a good drummer is very, very, very important to a great song, because they can take a song and elevate a song. They can change a song for the better. I obviously can go the opposite way too, but like I said, a good drummer can enhance a song. And I think that if you listen to the back catalog, I think that he may have been overlooked more than he should have been overlooked for his contributions to some of the hits that they put out in the past. I mean, he put a different drummer in that place, and it might have been a very different song.
Yeah, like American Woman or something like that. I mean, I'm thinking of that song. I'm like, whoa, such a talent. And Derek Sharp. Yeah, I saw somewhere D Sharp. I never thought about that. That's a cool name, D Sharp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome stuff. But his voice now, and I know you, when you're playing guitar and you're doing these solos, and as well as I do, like with Steve Perry and Neil Schon, You
Mhm.
have to, if you have a great guitar player, you have to have a great vocalist. And y'all two seem to have this, sound that, ties itself together, and it's a good sound with everybody in the band. I mean, it's not, but I'm just saying you have to have good people to play some strong vocals and guitar to project those songs. But he does
Yeah.
a great job on
Yeah,
those songs.
Derek's amazing, and he's a multi-instrumentalist as well. I mean, he plays just about everything. And he's an amazing guitar player as well. So I feel very fortunate to be able to be in a band with another guitar player that is as good as he is.
Right. That helps.
Absolutely.
But let me see. I'm looking over my. I don't want to forget anything. I got
Oh,
this.
no, take your time. It's good.
But speaking of Derek though, and kind of alluding to Steve Perry though, now he's married to Sass Jordan,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And she was on tour with Steve back in 94, 95, right? With For the Love of Strange Medicine.
Love Trades
So I'm
Medicine.
sure,
Lincoln
right? So
Brewster, Paul Taylor. Yeah. All those guys. Yeah.
that's right. So I mean, I'm sure she knows Steve very well.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's a little interesting side note there.
And Todd, who was playing bass, I believe, for Steve back then, is now in Journey.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tie-ins, and that's what I was thinking about with when I was talking to Joel. You leave this band, this person goes to this band. It's like playing musical bands, and everybody's played with this one. This one was in this band, and this one was in this band, and it's just cool how many people have worked with so many artists. I'm sure you've worked with a bunch over the years, right?
Absolutely. Well, interesting fact about Sass and Joel. Sass and Joel played in New York on Broadway on a Broadway play called Love Janice. So they have a connection as well.
Ah,
Well, it's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
hey, Kevin Bacon's wife, what's her, Kara Sedgwick, is my like 8th cousin. I looked that up, believe it or not. So I'm
1 degree separate. Then you got
1
eight,
degree.
8 instead of 7.
I'm closer. I'm closer than that. I'm just saying. Hey, does he bring home the bacon after? No, I'm sorry.
She
I'm
fries
sorry.
man.
Hey,
We're showing our
hey,
age now.
exactly. The dad jokes. Hey, I have a bunch of them. I have the quirky. If people don't like that, they don't need to watch this. I'm just saying.
That's right.
Come on.
I'm much to the chagrin of my children. I am the brunt of bad dad jokes. I tell them all the time, and they get the really, Dad.
What can you say? You got a daughter?
I have a daughter and a son. I have a 19-year-old son and almost a 16-year-old daughter who's almost 17. But at that age, you're pushing it so fast that you already are 17. And I'm trying to go the opposite way of where I'm headed age-wise.
Keep doing it. Keep going. Yeah, my daughter is 17. So that's or does your daughter? My daughter likes to sing. Does your daughter? Is she into music and stuff like that? She'll be looking for her one day, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if they're my kids. Both my kids are musical. They both sing and play guitar and piano and all that stuff. But I don't know if they're pursuing it professionally, which I don't know if I would encourage them to or not, unless they're really passionate about it. But they have this blood harmony, this Everly Brothers thing going on when they sing. It's chilling, and they both don't realize how talented they really are because they're not very serious about what they do, but they are very, very talented. And but they're in an interesting place in life where they don't realize that. So I think they're enjoying it more versus putting any kind of pressure on themselves. But so to answer your question, they're very musical. They're very talented.
Well, that's good. I mean, like that, maybe that next generation of people, and that's what I love about a lot of artists like Wolfgang Van Halen.
Yeah.
He's not doing what his dad did. He's doing his own thing. They need that. Sammy Hagar's son, Andrew, you're doing stuff on your own. You're not sounding like your parents, but you're the next generation. There needs to be a lot more of that. Otherwise, like you said, we're not going to have anybody. Rock and roll will not be here anymore. So there needs to be a new generation rising up and playing, right?
Right, man. People got to get their faces out of their damn phones and get an instrument in their hand. It really is.
It's just, I don't know. I think that they need to recapture that magic of the old days and I think, like you said, the phone is to blame. A lot of they're preoccupied with different things, and when people were just focused on different issues, stress and life, remember back in the day when you were younger, you didn't worry about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And you loved the people around you back then. Wow.
You really did. I mean, and you know what? And seriously, that song though, bringing that to light. I mean, it's kind of like people forget. A lot of people say, "I wish we can go back to the old days of." Oh, you can if you'll stop all this,
Put the phone down. Step
fighting.
away from the phone. Step away from the division. Absolutely, man. I agree with you.
And I think maybe that's that maybe that message will be carried on, and when people will hear that message through this album, I think they will.
I hope so.
And it's a lot of good stuff. But no, y'all been playing. Are you on a break right now with?
Yeah. We have a couple weeks off. Yeah, we're getting ready to head into the bulk of our season. That's getting ready to go sideways.
Well, I noticed on the tour page, the calendar, you're going to be in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
In April. So I might have to come to that.
Well, let me know.
I will. I'll go backstage and eat all your M&Ms and whatever they have.
It just happened to us in a show in Wisconsin. We were playing an outdoor amphitheater, and 3 songs in, the weather, there was lightning, so they decided to hold the show for a half hour, and then another cell front started coming through, and they just canceled it. And there was a holding area behind the stage where we were using as one dressing room, but our hospitality and everything were in another building. And when we went back there, they were all sheltering people in place, and we got back to nothing.
Where's my sub sandwich? I ate
it. Much to the chagrin of the promoter. The promoter was so embarrassed, but in the grand scheme of things, the people needed to get somewhere where they were safe. I mean, it got really bad, and if that's the worst that could have happened, everybody lived, and they drank some good wine and ate some good food.
I mean, that's an experience they can tell their grandkids. I pushed the Guess Who out, and and I stole their food, and we didn't die in a tornado.
That's right.
But that does show you the kind of people you have with you. That you're not going to say, "Get out of here. We got this is our stuff." Don't go to your car.
Right. Exactly.
But okay, so now let's go to another section.
Okay.
I've got these little sections in my interview here, but
I like it.
Lou Gramm, though. Now I know when you were younger and you're listening to Foreigner on the radio, especially the Mick Jones and Lou, and just that sound, that awesome sound, that first album they had, you're like jamming out. You never think I'm going to be playing with Lou Gramm one day.
No, I not in my wildest dreams. When the first Foreigner record came out, I mean, I was really into Journey back then. I wasn't a Foreigner fan per se. I am a Lou Gramm fan because he came from the same town, and our families knew each other, and his nephews and his boys I was friends with growing up. And then when the opportunity came up, well, let me back up a little bit. So when Foreigner 4 came out, I mean, I remember him coming into a grocery store that I worked at, and he must have been home on break, and that was my first encounter with him face to face. And I recognized him immediately because at that point, Foreigner 4 was humongous. I mean, that was probably the pinnacle or part of the pinnacle of their career. And I got to meet him, but never in a million years did I think that I would have an opportunity several years later to play with him. But I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity, and very grateful for the experience and the opportunity, because I mean, he took a chance on, somebody from Rochester, from Gates, to play guitar. I mean, obviously he needed a guitar player, and he could ask anybody to play guitar, and he took a chance with me. And I spent several years with him, and I think that we had a really, really good time together. And another person who honored to call my friend, and I became, because I truly believe that we became friends in that time. It wasn't so much of a working relationship, but amazing singer, amazing human being, extremely humble, family guy, real easy to work with, generous. I can't sing enough praises about my time with him, and I'm very, very grateful to have had that opportunity.
Wow. I bet. Yeah. But I guess it helped that you were from the same town to get the gig, right? So how did that come to? Did somebody say this guy's he lives right up the street there? You might as well just let him play with you.
I'm not really sure that played a factor. It may have. I mean, I can't say it didn't. But one thing that I know that was a prerequisite was of somebody who sang as well. So fortunately for me, I do sing, and I checked the boxes that he was looking for, and obviously he kept me around. So I must have been doing something right.
Exactly. Oh, there was something on YouTube, like a little clip. I think you and Lou were playing live somewhere, and you had your acoustic out.
Yeah.
And you were basically the band, and
Yeah.
you were harmonizing. You were doing all the harmonies. I was like, man, that needs to be done a lot. You know what I'm saying? It's just that simple with acoustic guitar. That just shows you how good you are and how good he is. That you two guys were doing that sound. I was like, man, I was blown away.
Yeah.
But great job on that. Whatever that was, I don't know, but it wasn't like a big arena. It might have been smaller.
Yeah, those were events to support when his book came out, when he released his book. And the beauty of those is just what you said. I mean, it really showcased what a powerhouse vocalist he is. I mean, to me, I felt that it was a really, really great environment to really, show his vocal prowess, you know what I mean? And to break it down and show how good the songs were, the compositions. I mean, and it's ironic too, because when he approached me to do that, he picked a lot of the keyboard oriented songs. And I was like, oh man, on just guitar and voice, this is going to be a challenge, but I embraced it. And I think we were both surprised how good it sounded. But I think what really comes down to, the songs are so well written that it didn't matter. If it had, a full band or just an acoustic guitar and a voice, because, he's able to, he could probably sing the phone book and it would sound great. But it was a treat for me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is just sitting and listening to him and tell the stories he was telling about the songs. I mean, that probably one of the highlights of playing with Lou, is doing those acoustic shows and him sharing the stories, because he would do a lot of storyteller, because it was all about his book. He would elaborate on some of the stories in his books, or tell stories about the songs that, when they were in the studio writing them. And those are really cool. I mean, those are really interesting aspects that you don't always hear about. So it was like having a front row seat for myself.
For real. I mean, what better place to be than right there? I mean, but I was thinking back to when he left Foreigner the first time.
Yeah.
And and what he had a tumor. And surgery, and I remember thinking, man, praying for this guy, and it didn't look like he was gonna. It looked like he would live, but it didn't look like he would come back, because I knew he gained a lot of weight. He couldn't speak right. Didn't he have to relearn some of his singing and stuff like that?
A lot of the treatment post surgery affected his physical condition, but what really needs to be focused on is the comeback. And it's really remarkable. And there's another situation too. It's like he caught a lot of flack during that period, and it really bothered me. Being his friend and bandmate, it bothered me because, again, we could have been in a point in life where we had no Lou Gramm. I mean, he would have been gone, and it would just be a bit of memory. But he persevered, and he's a true survivor and a success story of somebody who overcame the ultimate challenge. I think at one point, doctors told him to go home and get his affairs in order, that they couldn't do anything for him. And through divine intervention, the power of prayer and God Almighty, he was blessed to be here, because obviously his work here is not done. And he sounds great today. And I know, playing with him, he sounded amazing. And I'm grateful that the Lord spared him and kept him here with us, because he's definitely a blessing to all of us. I mean, he's one of my heroes, and he's a true icon. icon vocalist. I know that when I meet people and they find out, they learn that I had played with him and spent some time, they're just as in awe as I was for having the opportunity. They're just just as much awe, and he is really a miracle, and should be, it should be conveyed more, and it's not, should be conveyed of his the perseverance and how he overcame all that, and he's still here and he's doing great, and he's still out there, blessing us with his voice and his catalog. So
Sure. I'm in awe too. But like I said, I remember those days. I remember praying for him. I remember,
yeah,
I think I'm talking to John Schlitt of Petra next week.
oh,
And I know he had sang with him, and I was thinking, this guy's been through a lot of stuff, and he's, and it didn't look good, but you kept on believing. But like you said, the doctors are saying one thing, and you didn't hear, back in the day, you didn't have social media where you could find out how he's doing. And I'm like, how's he doing? And next thing I know, he's back, and he gained some weight, and I'm thinking, man, he's back, and like you said, he just overcame a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That, to me now, his vocal, ability is up here, but his ability to come back is also up there. I mean, to me, that's like the ultimate jukebox hero. And by the way, I would love to have him right here. I wonder if anybody could help me with that. I'm just saying. No, but anyway,
you get him on your show.
Yeah, but I think he's busy or something. I actually reached out to some people, and I think he doesn't do them while he's on the road or some certain time or something like that. But I don't know. But maybe one day, I hope. But yeah, one of my all time. I mean, like I said, Steve Perry. People always say I'm the Steve Perry Journey guy, but I've honestly thought about doing a Lou Gramm page. I mean, because that's how much I love that guy. I ain't gonna lie.
Absolutely, and it's a testimony. His comeback is a testimony. That's the testament to his perseverance, his integrity, his character. I mean, thank the Lord that we still have him and Steve Perry. I mean, those two guys right there. I mean, Steve Perry, and when he sings, and you probably can attest to this, being a big Journey fan. There's something about Steve's voice that digs down deep into my soul and into my heart, and really moves me to the point of it's hard to explain. But I mean, Steve, he needs to be singing. Where are you, Steve?
we're gonna start this thing, to get him back out there and singing. But now we're going to the next stage of, because when I first became your friend, like on Facebook, you had mentioned that you're like the biggest Steve Perry fan ever, and when I was younger though, when I heard, now I was, I don't know, a little kid. My dad was a DJ, and he played Love and Touch and Squeeze, and my dad knew
that was the first song for me.
Sam Cooke was his one of his favorite singers. So he's like, this guy sounds like Sam Cooke. I like that song. So I'm like, I like this song too. But then I got an album called Escape.
Yeah.
And I thought, man,
it was a game changer.
These songs are like the best ever. Every song was different, but every song was powerful. My favorite album. What's your favorite Journey album?
Wow, man. So, I mean, when I first, Love and Touch and Squeeze and City of the Angels were my introduction. So that was Evolution. And I mean, I started there and then kind of went back and forward. My favorite Journey record, believe it or not, is the live record, Captured. I mean, to me, that was one that really kind of was a broad scope of where they had been before Escape. And then when Escape came out, I remember anticipating that. And I remember putting it on. I bought the vinyl, I put it on, and I was just like, this is so different from Journey. And because obviously you had John Cane joining the band and injecting a whole another element into the band. But looking back at that record, ended up being probably the biggest, most successful record for them. But it changed the course of where they went. I mean, even after that, Frontiers was a little bit edgy and a little different. And Raised on Radio was kind of, you could see things where things were going at the time, and it wasn't but it was still, I mean, I was still grateful to have, those records. But I think Captured was really the one that did it for me. But not only Steve Perry's voice, but Neil. I mean, his playing. I mean, he's like my number one my biggest influence. And
Sure.
it's funny because I was listening to Santana when I was a kid with my parents with their record collection, and I didn't realize I was listening to Neil before I even knew it was Neil. And
Right.
you mentioned Eric Clapton earlier. My dad's favorite guitar player was Eric Clapton, and so that was Neil's favorite guitar player. So it's just weird how these circles, Jeff
Sure.
Beck, Eric Clapton, all that stuff that surrounds us. But Neil was such an influence to me. But the two of them together, Steve Perry and Neil Schon, there was something magic about the two of them that when they composed music, I mean, I remember doing shows with Journey when I was playing with Lou, and being in the arena before soundcheck when Journey was soundchecking. They played Winds of March, and
Oh yeah.
and just listening to that in my own private concert. Obviously, it wasn't my own private concert, but in my mind, it was. Because the doors weren't open yet, but just hearing that was just so emotional because those original recordings, Steve's voice and Neil's playing, I mean, really, really struck me at a time in my life when I was growing up and really resonated with me. So the elements of Steve Perry, Neil Schon, the two of them collaborating is just, I don't even know how to quantify it. It's just, for me, it was big.
I call them the dynamic duo because,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I don't think there's anybody else except those two that were so the voice, and he called it magic fingers.
Yeah.
And those two together just fit so well. Man, when I heard Faithfully, that's my favorite Journey song.
Yeah.
It was like a spiritual thing. It was like, that's real. This is, he's doing the woe to the, and Neil's playing and the words and the drums and everything about that song, just talking about chills. It was just like, it was like a spiritual thing. But it was like, I was like, man, I don't think there's a more perfect song ever. Because but back to Lou, I mean, I Want to Know What Love Is, chills there too.
Right.
And there's some spiritual aspects. I'm just saying, it's just when songs reach you like that, you've done your job, and
right place, right time. And Lou and Mick, I mean, Mick Jones and Lou Gramm, I mean, undeniable as well. I mean, the two of them, I couldn't argue. I'm just glad that they got together. I'm glad all four of those guys found each other when they did, because it's really left an indelible mark on the world. And thankfully,
sure.
thank God for those guys.
They're the best. I mean, I remember when Lou was out of the band, he got back together for the Very Best and Beyond. I think it was in '92, and they were on Regis and Kathy Lee. I remember that episode.
Yep.
And he gets out the guitar. He's on the piano, but he also gets the guitar, and they're doing the songs just like y'all did.
Yeah.
And it was just so, I was like, whoa. And it was magical. And when Lou would sing, you could see just fire in his eyes. He just had that power. I'm like, man. But same way though, with Steve and Neil. I mean, that's why those two guys are my faves. I mean, you can't deny that they're the best. I mean, I'll argue that with anybody. Those two guys.
And I believe that dynamic between them personally, which I can't really speak to with knowledge, but from what I've read and what has been out there, there's been some tension. But I believe that tension is what brings great art sometimes. I think you can't be all kissy face and happy all the time. I think that that little bit of edge really brings great art. So thankfully they were able to capture that, and when they did, so timing, it's a perfect timing. They were interacted. They crisscrossed the perfect time. Everybody.
Sure. Do you think that Lou will show up on this final tour with Foreigner, or do you think?
I have no idea.
No idea. I'm just throwing it out there. But hey, but talking about Journey, now let me throw this at you, okay?
Yeah.
The ultimate dream. Okay, you played with Lou Gramm. What if out of the blue, Steve Perry announces his residency in Las Vegas, and he needs a guitar player? Lincoln Brewster is on vacation somewhere. Hey, so he needs his guitar player, and you get a phone call. It says, "Hey, I want you to play guitar for Steve Perry in Las Vegas." What do you say?
What do you think I would say?
Of course, I know what you say. Hey, but I mean, you know, I I believe all things are possible. But I did, but that's crossed my mind when I was thinking about this interview. I was thinking that would be the perfect guy
Oh,
to do it, man. I think you fit. I mean, you fit as good as you did with Lou. I'm thinking, but I don't know. It's like you fit the style, like you said, that Gary does with his drums. You do that with guitar. You didn't overplay on songs. You could have been going Van Halen on some of those songs, but it's like you did what it took, but it made it so much more powerful, I think, when you do your own thing. But like with Steve, and think about this, your love for Neil Schon would shine through.
oh yeah,
And obviously that's what Lincoln Brewster did. I mean, he sounded very close
he's
to
awesome.
Neil,
Lincoln's
right?
Lincoln did a great job, and he's an amazing guitar player in his own right.
Sure.
What a dream gig! I mean, what a dream gig! I mean, I probably would. The phone would ring. I'd see the caller ID, and I would already be at the airport with my bags back.
He'd be you'd be there. You walk in the door, and he'd be like, "Hell, I just
Yeah,
hung up with you."
I'm here.
So
I'm here. Here we go.
I always said now. I mean, if I could just be there. I mean, I play instruments too, but if I could just be there in a setting like with Steve, I don't have to play anything. I would just to experience that, to be there for that. That was my hope during like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Everybody
Yeah,
wanted him to sing. They still want him to sing, and of course, I do videos, and I'm saying there might be a chance. You're saying there's a chance,
right,
you know.
right. But at this point, I think the bucket list for me is just to meet him, just to shake his hand and tell him thank you, just because of the body of work he put out, and the impact it made on me. That would be good enough for me, just to shake his hand and let him know how much I appreciate what he's done and who he is, and thank him, and hoping that he was going to live up to the expectation, because they say you don't want to meet your heroes, you know. But I would take a
Yeah.
chance on that one. I mean, yeah, just to shake his hand and say thank you. That would be a great bucket list thing for me. But probably if I had an opportunity to play with him, I probably could. Well, I don't want to say it. Die a happy man. It'd be quite the Cinderella story. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know if it's something that would be feasible. But I like your thinking.
right. So when it does happen, remember me, and I will feel. I want to be there whenever it
Right
does.
on, man. You got it. I promise.
Well, besides the Guess Who and everything like that, what you work on your own stuff. I mean, what all do you do between, like, musically and in between your gigs and everything?
Yeah, I've been working with an artist here, a new artist that's undiscovered, by the name of Riz, and he has this project called Riz and the Believers, and it's like a reggae beach island music. It's really out of my comfort zone, my wheelhouse. But one of my friends, Troy Laquette, has been producing it, and he invited me to play on a track, and I ended up playing on the entire record, which hasn't been released yet. But we did just shoot a video for the first single, and it had several notable players on it. Peter Keys from Leonard Skinner, Michael Devin was there, myself, Troy Laquetta Jr., and John Salloway, who's an amazing artist here in Nashville, solo artist. So that's been an interesting project that I probably would have never imagined being a part of if it wasn't for moving to Nashville, and and being friends with Troy, being the producer of the album. I do a lot of writing myself. I mean, we're actually talking about another Guess Who record in the next coming year. So we're starting to come up with ideas for that. But I'm always dabbling in things. Trying to keep myself busy, and much like Gary, I'm playing every night. I have a guitar in my hand every night, no matter whether I'm on the road in my hotel room, or especially off stage. I mean, I try to play and try to be creative and just let the music come naturally.
And you're surrounded. I mean, you're right there in the middle of Nashville there.
Yeah.
You've got all these people you could work with. I'm sure you've got ideas and things like that. That's what's so cool. I went up there a few years ago, and I want to go back. It's always, you got to make time to go and do all this stuff. But I mean, just such a fascinating. A friend of mine was playing up there. What's the place? It was beside the Ernest Tubb record store. There's a place. It's like got a green sign. What is that?
Western World, Robert's Western World.
It's right beside there. It's like a bar. And upstairs, he was playing somewhere upstairs, right past there, and it was my first experience like that. It was just so cool. It was like an amusement park. It was nobody was driving. There was all walking everywhere, and it was like an adventure land. And for me, loving music, I was like in heaven. It was like everywhere you walk, somebody was playing music at some place, or there was this Elvis statue, the microphone broken off or something in the middle of the street. But I'm just saying, it was just so cool to be. It was like, I think you're in a good spot.
It's pretty incredible,
right?
I don't go to Broadway a lot, unless people come into town to visit and they want to see Broadway. But I did. I played the Ryman for the second time since I've been here with the School of Rock. I did a benefit with the School of Rock here that I'm involved with that organization. I did a charity fundraiser there, and then I actually went to the Opry for the first time.
Oh, cool.
I don't know why I haven't gone previously, and I plan on going repeatedly because it was amazing. It was like, I remember it was like growing up as a kid and Saturday night watching, Hee Haw or whatever the music show that was on, when we had 3 channels. It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed myself. It was just very, very cool.
Yeah, that's a place I'd like to go to is the Opry, and there's a lot of places I like to go to, but yeah, that's got to be fascinating when you're a kid and you get to see all this stuff. But I won't keep you or anything, because I could talk all day and forever. But I do appreciate, dude. Like I said, I haven't talked to you like this. You always see people on Facebook and you kind of talk, like typing, but it's cool to see you. I have to do it again.
Absolutely. Likewise, anytime. This is great. I'd like to also just to mention, where people can get the record and
sure.
So you can either go to our website, theguesswho.com, or go to Deco Entertainment. And it's also available wherever, Amazon, wherever you stream records, wherever you buy records, is available everywhere worldwide. Plenty more. And, and the videos on our YouTube channel, I think it's the Guess Who TV or the Guess Who Official. I probably should know that, right? If you go to our website, it'll take you, theguesswho.com will take you to all those places. You can check out the videos and download, stream, and listen to People Around Me, our latest single. It's one for the record books, according to you.
Hey, let it be said. And really, though, they really do need to check it out. Sometimes you promote stuff and you say, I'm not getting paid for, you're not sending me money going, say that it sounds great. But but that's what I do. I really do listen to the music and I go, that's good stuff. And my hope is everybody does check out your album with the Guess Who, because they would be missing out if they didn't listen. And that's my hope, is they give it a chance. But
I appreciate that, Gary. That's very, very kind of you, and I appreciate you having me on. It's good to see your face.
My fat face.
Well, just instead of being just a profile picture, you know what I mean. It's good to listen. Just to chit chat a little bit and talk about things we have in common. And having me on your show as a guest, I'm honored to be here as a guest, and I hope to come back.
Hey, if it's up to me, you will. You may think, this guy, I'm glad I got off this thing for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, when we come to Mobile, make sure you reach out and make sure you come to the show and you get to experience the live experience.
I sure will, man. That sounds like a great plan. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, Mike.
Be good. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks for watching, everybody. You liked this show, didn't you? You really liked it. Well, if you did, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and be ready for some more interviews right here on Real Music. And always remember to keep the music real.